Well, here it is, January 1st, 2020, and I want to give you a tip here about your pressure system. If you live on an acreage and you have a well, then you have a pressure system. So the pressure system consists of a few things here, and I could talk about this complicated system probably for 20 or 30 minutes and not touch on everything, but I'm going to give you the pointers here that I think are important and the problems that I see a lot. Okay, so if the water line comes in here, water comes through the system and goes over to the house. In between the house and the well, you have your pressure tank, which almost always will have either air pressure in it or an air bladder in it. In this case, it's an air bladder, so you fill it up here. We put about 28 pounds or 2 pounds, I think it's 2 pounds less than the cut-in pressure of your pressure switch. So normally for most people, we want to have our pressure on our gauge here, presuming it's working. We want to have that pressure set for about 30 pounds cut-in pressure to 50, 60 pounds cut-out pressure. So you might choose to go 30 to 50, or you might want to go 40 to 70, but somewhere in that range. You don't want it cutting in at 20 because you have no water pressure at 20, and you don't want it cutting out at 80 because your pump will run and run and run trying to produce 80 pounds of pressure. So here's how you adjust it, and this is the complicated part. So we pull the cover off, and remember that you got 110 volts on either side of this pressure switch, so that's 240 volts, and that will give you an awful shock, so do not touch that. This is the pressure switch right here. So essentially what that means is when the pressure on this bottom plate down here moves up and down from the water pressure, that will turn the switch on and off through this disc, which basically is sitting straight up like this, and when the pressure gets to a certain pressure, it flips in and the contacts make contact and it provides power to the pump down in the well. And I know there's different systems, but basically a pressure switch works the same on all the different systems. So right now I've got my water turned off and sitting at about 65 pounds. So when I turn this on, the pressure is dropping. You don't want to see that drop too quickly. It's really dropping quickly in my case because I've got the backwash going on my water softening equipment. When the pump gets down to 35 pounds in my case, you're going to see this switch kick in. You'll see a little spark, and that makes contact and the pump kicks in. So we'll wait for that to happen. Any second. There we go. Takes a while. So the pump is now kicked in and it's pressuring the system back up again. It's requiring water, so it's pressuring up. And you can see the gauge climbing again. Okay, so the complicated part is how to adjust this so that it cuts in and cuts out at the right pressures. So the one that you want to use most of the time is the large one. Okay. This one here is basically designed for the cutout pressure only, so we don't generally touch that one too much. If it's adjusted way down, turned clockwise, and it's really, the spring's very tight, the pump might run and run and run and run, so you might take the pressure off by adjusting this counterclockwise. This one is to cut in and cut out pressure. If you want your cut in pressure, let's say that's cutting in at 27 pounds, which is a bit low, you'd put your wrench on here and you'd adjust this clockwise, and it'll cut in, instead of 28, it'll cut in at, say, 29. Adjust it about 10 times around in clockwise position, and it'll cut in about 35. So currently I have mine set for 35 to 65, so it's a little on the high side on the disc cutout pressure, but that's what I prefer. So that's basically the pressure system, how it works. Once again, if you see the system, the gauge cycling really fast, chances are you don't have enough air pressure in your tank, or the bladder inside the tank has broken or something like that. So you can screw this gauge off here, and first thing you can do, check, make sure there's air coming out. If water comes out of there, then you have a waterlogged tank. Okay, my pump just cut off again. So everything's working as it should.